We all know and love MrBeast, from his crazy challenges to his insane charity work. But did you know MrBeast has risked his life for videos and almost died 9 entire times? Today, we're gonna be going over all of them, starting with a bit of a throwback. In 2018, Jimmy would upload the video spending 24 hours straight underwater challenge. But to accomplish this without suffocating, Jimmy had an oxygen tube constantly supplying him oxygen. So with the basic safety measures taken into place, Jimmy was off to spend 24 hours underwater. Everything in the video seemed to be going normal, until around 11 p.m, when Jimmy all of a sudden started to feel extremely nauseous and sick, which ultimately led to him having to leave the challenge early. But this was for the best, as Jimmy unknowingly could have almost died. See, as we all know, humans need oxygen to survive, but one thing Jimmy forgot to look into was the CO2 he was breathing in as well, which led him most likely to experience hypercapnia, which happens when you breathe in too much CO2, which would explain Jimmy's headaches he was experiencing, as that happens to be one of the symptoms of hypercapnia. So it's a good thing Jimmy got out when he did, as if he continued to stay underwater, it could have led to him dying. I think he didn't think about the CO2, so that's why he was getting dizzy. While that was a crazy near-death experience early in Jimmy's career, his next would be even more insane. Because I bet you didn't know Jimmy was invited to be on the submarine where multiple billionaires died. Yeah, pretty crazy, right? Which leads us perfectly into our next near-death experience. As many of us know, there was a submarine with a couple of billionaires who were going to see the Titanic back in 2023. And they paid big money to go and see the famous ship, which is now sunken hundreds of feet underwater. But tragically, the submarine imploded, killing all 5 of the billionaires on board. But that number would have been 6 if not for Jimmy declining the offer to see the Titanic. I was invited earlier this month to ride the Titanic submarine. I said no. Kind of scary that I could have been on it. No way. That's actually crazy to think about. Well, we're all very happy you declined, dude. Another quick thing to bring up is that some people doubted that Jimmy was actually invited onto the submarine. But whether or not this story is true, it's still scary to think that Jimmy's life could have ended if he'd agreed to ride the submarine. So while Jimmy may have declined this offer, this next offer I'm pretty sure everyone else would have said yes to, which was a burger from the world-renowned chef Gordon Ramsay. But under MrBeast's certain circumstances at the time, this could have been his last. See, Jimmy was doing a challenge at the time in which he couldn't eat anything for 30 days straight, which was for the video I didn't eat food for 30 days. But if he failed the challenge, the crew would shave off all of his hair and make him bald. It's also important to note, for the context of this video's timing, Jimmy was filming this challenge alongside his other big video, that being I Built Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, in which Gordon Ramsay made a guest appearance in both videos.
We have these 3 contestants, and what better person to decide which one of you wins the Chocolate Factory than, come on in, Gordon Ramsay. Turn around.
No
my gosh. How's it going, man?
Didn't expect the main man Gordon, couldn't imagine cooking for him. Well, Gordon Ramsay needs no introduction. The thing that does is what happens when you don't eat for a long time, which is refeeding syndrome. Something that can occur when you fast for a very long time, like what Jimmy was doing. But the catch is, your body doesn't really know what to do with the newly eaten food. So your body malfunctions because of a rapidly shifting metabolism, causing your body to experience serious pain, even resulting in death in some cases. With this information in mind, Jimmy made the bold move to eat Gordon's sandwich. But thankfully, he had doctors monitoring him, and they even told him about refeeding syndrome, which I just explained to you guys.
I'll take 1 bite, and I have to spit it out technically because of refeeding syndrome, but I still want to just taste it.
So Jimmy ended up breaking the streak after 14 days, but thankfully spit up the food afterwards, because if he didn't, things could have ended up more fatal for Jimmy. Jimmy puts his life at risk to entertain us. He certainly has my respect. But if you've made it this far into the video, you're going to want to stick around, because later in this video, something would happen that would almost cost Jimmy's eyesight. But for now, we're moving on to MrBeast's fourth near-death experience, that being Jimmy's driver that almost got him into a car crash. But first, we need to rewind a little bit as to what led to this moment. Jimmy and his friends were around 8 hours from home filming a video for the channel. When they finished filming around 12 a.m., they started to drive back the following morning. Jimmy and his friends were on the highway when suddenly Jimmy's friend wasn't feeling good and asked to pull over to a gas station, but he just randomly passed out, making Jimmy and his friends assume that he just died.
He just says, can we pull over to a gas station? I don't feel too good. And I'm like looking at the road and I turn and look to my left and his head's just bobbling. And he's just like,
wait, is he driving?
Yeah, down the highway and he's just like dead.
But to make things 10 times worse, Jimmy and his friends were on the highway where a bunch of cars were around them. So they easily could have spun out and hit a car, and that would have been the end for MrBeast. But thankfully, Jimmy acted quickly and safely managed to get the car out of the highway by literally just grabbing the wheel and forcefully doing so. So while Jimmy was safe, his friend also came back to life, after apparently his heart just stopped beating for a while. Glad MrBeast's friend survived and they were able to find out what was wrong with him. Hope he's doing fine now, and hope it gets better for his friend. Jimmy's quick instincts after his friend randomly just died may have saved him and his other friend's life as well. But even though that story is crazy, a story that is also equally as crazy is the time that Jimmy got stuck in a weird position while being buried underground. The video I'm talking about, of course, is the video called I Spent 50 Hours Buried Alive. The premise of this video, of course, being that Jimmy would have to spend 50 hours buried alive. But as many of you could probably imagine, staying in one position for a very long time with very little flexibility would be rough. Jimmy, with the same mindset, would agree and attempt to move to the other side of the coffin, originally to just adjust the camera, but to also probably move around a little bit. But one thing happened that could have cost his life. Jimmy got stuck in an awkward position. Keep in mind that he was 6 feet under a ton of dirt, and for a little bit, he couldn't move.
There was a camera at my feet and I went to like go adjust it and I couldn't. So I like literally turned around and I'm, you know, not super flexible. I literally like was going to turn. And so like I'm laying like this and as I'm like bending, I got caught like halfway. And I was like, I was literally like, guys, if I can't get out of this in 2 seconds, you start digging right the fuck now. Cause I was like caught in a super awkward position, like in the thing.
But thankfully, Jimmy was able to get out of that very awkward position and able to continue the video. Jimmy then went on to successfully complete the video, surviving 50 hours buried alive. But if the coffin randomly collapsed or something else happened while Jimmy was in that awkward position, that could have been the end of MrBeast. But thankfully, that didn't happen. Coffin situation may have presented immediate danger. However, this next situation at first seemed harmless, but quickly spiraled out of control. So this all began when Jimmy was going to film in Antarctica, which of course is for the video I spent 50 hours in Antarctica. But that video is only important for context as to what happened before the video was filmed. So Jimmy had a layover in Chile because you can't fly directly from America to Antarctica. So knowing this, Jimmy wore a hoodie, a mask, and sunglasses to try to blend in as much as possible in the airport. But despite all this, a kid at the airport recognized Jimmy, even with all of the stuff he was wearing concealing his identity. So Jimmy, being the kind soul that he is, ended up taking a picture with the kid. But something Jimmy didn't expect was him posting the picture to social media.
And I was, you know, in the airport, I was wearing my hoodie, sunglasses, just staring at the floor. I was like, if I don't take any photos, I'll just go straight to the hotel room. No one will know I'm here. And somehow this one like little kid recognized me. And I was like, no photo, please, please. And he's like, photo, because they speak Spanish. And I was like, I didn't know how to tell him no, and I didn't want to be mean. So I took it. And that was it. And I got in and out of the airport with only one photo, staring at the ground with my hood up.
This would all completely backfire, as by the time Jimmy would get to his hotel, that photo was already on social media, and an estimated 200 people were already at the hotel Jimmy was staying at. To make matters even worse, people were going door to door, knocking on each one, trying to figure out which one had Jimmy. So to try to make it to the airport safely, Jimmy had to hire his own security, along with having the whole hotel basically go into lockdown mode.
I was talking to the manager of the hotel. It's like, why don't just have your security like control things. And he's like, we do. And so I had to hire security to like help lock down this hotel because there's so many people. And then there's like people trying to camp outside the hotel. And we're like, this is not a meet and greet. Like, I'm just here.
Oh yeah. Jimmy, however, did make it to the airport and managed to get on the flight to Antarctica, where he would then film the video. But some of you guys are probably wondering, how did Jimmy almost lose his life? Well, think about it. What are the chances out of those 200 fans, all of them had good intentions? Just one bad person knowing where Jimmy is enough to possibly result in him losing his life. Even though that was crazy, something equally as crazy, and maybe even more strange, was this guy from the Middle East tracking down Jimmy. So yeah, there was this guy from the Middle East who flew all the way to North Carolina to meet Jimmy. When he landed, he hired a private investigator to try to track Jimmy down. But a quick thing to know is that when someone's trying to hire a private investigator, it's actually quite common, for whatever reason, for private investigators to notify the celebrity if someone's trying to track them.
And this is just something that happens. This happens a lot. So whenever people call local private investigators, they just let us know because a lot of people just want to know where I am for whatever reason.
The private investigator informed Jimmy that someone was looking for him, and this prompted Jimmy to send to security and go and question this guy as to why he really wanted to meet him so bad. And get this dude flew all the way from the Middle East, apparently just wanting to give Jimmy some video ideas. Traveling across the world just to give Jimmy some video ideas is wild and a little flashy. So his security, obviously not believing him, searched his entire hotel room and bags, and nothing fishy turned up, besides just a list of videos. It seemed like he really did just want to give him a list of video ideas. So obviously, Jimmy's security guard would lie, saying Jimmy was out of town, but at least he took his list of ideas and gave it to Jimmy anyways. But were any of these ideas good? Well,
Hired private investigators, flew down there, all this money, camped out, just to give me a list of video ideas.
And none of them were good.
None of them were good.
now thankfully, Jimmy handled the situation perfectly and actually dodged using any of those ideas. If that person actually did end up meeting Jimmy, who knows how differently things would have turned out. But the next time MrBeast almost died was cartoonishly goofy. MrBeast would collaborate with popular Australian YouTubers How Ridiculous, who have over 20 million subscribers here on YouTube. And the short they collaborated on was a balloon pop race short, one of their most popular formats on the channel, with two of these kind of videos cracking over 1 billion views. But going back to the MrBeast short, at first the race was going normal, up until they got to the part where they had to throw needles at a large chunk of balloons, where suddenly the needles had begun to hit back and forth and even cut MrBeast's forehead.
Ow! Ow! They're bouncing back! Ow! They're bouncing back! Oh, these things hurt. Stop.
I think one of those hit me there.
Oh my god.
How bad did it hit?
You're a beast. You got messed up.
It's all fun and games until the balloons start to counterattack. They all got lucky these darts didn't destroy their eyesight, which, yeah, it's a good thing Jimmy didn't get hit in the eyes, as if he did, he could have lost his vision permanently, or at the very least, had some permanent damage to his eyes. But if you've watched this far into the video, come on, lock in and subscribe. But finally, we're on to the last time that Jimmy was almost killed, which was when Jimmy's house was broken into. At the time of this robbery, MrBeast was living in not the nicest of neighborhoods. He lived in a little duplex where he was paying $700 a month to live, but this incident would force Jimmy to find a nicer place to live. See, one day, someone would break into Jimmy's house. This thief would basically steal everything Jimmy owned, including his clothes, laptop which contained Bitcoin, and even his blanket.
Oh, and he also took my Bitcoin at the time too, but he's an idiot.
But thankfully, Jimmy was able to recover the Bitcoin and possibly save the future of his channel.
Put in Bitcoin like skyrocketed. And then I was literally just about to sell it and fund a bunch of videos. And then that shit went down and I'm like crying as I'm loading it up and my heart is pounding. I'm like, please, it's there. It's all there. And I moved it real quick and like that robber's a fucking moron. He's busy stealing my TV, my fucking blanket, instead of the fucking Bitcoin that was sitting right there. Fucking idiot. F you.
Imagine the robber seeing this right now. He's gonna be pissed. So while Jimmy was able to survive with his life and his channel, it's still kind of crazy to think that not only Jimmy's whole career was on the line with that laptop, but his life too, as most likely the robber was armed and could have easily ended Jimmy's life. And with that, those are all the times I could find that Jimmy almost died. But if you liked this video, check out the video on screen, as you've watched this one fully, and you'll definitely like this next one.